What's up, everybody? So today I want to talk about, I'd say, the biggest worry for the Packers if I had to pick one, because I'm not someone who gets that worried about the Packers. I think that they'll always find a way. I always have that hope, even if I shouldn't have that hope. I always do. But I figured we would talk about, I'd say, the biggest worry, the biggest fear I have if I had to pick one for this Packers roster, and that has to do with a few different things on this Packers offensive line. First off, David Bottiari. Let's talk about David Bottiari. So he's still dealing with that injury. We don't exactly know to what extent because we don't always have an inside understanding of exactly what's happening with David Bottiari. The only reason I'm still a little concerned is just because the Packers did hold him out of mandatory minicamp. He's still been working with the rehab group, and there's a possibility that he's doing that just because the Packers want to be safe. Maybe he's completely healthy, he's completely fine, but just the way that Matt LaFleur talked about him and Aaron Rodgers talked about him, saying hopefully he'll be ready for training camp, makes me a little concerned. I would like to hear them say, oh, he's going to be ready for training camp 100%. And maybe they're just being a little cautious, but that does make me a little worried when it comes to David Bottiari, because if he's not starting at left tackle for the Packers this year, that definitely makes this offensive line that much weaker, and we'll have to put someone else out there at left tackle, which will, move a few different things move some other things around this offensive line. So the first biggest thing is David Bottiari. Hopefully he'll be healthy and be back to his former self, because when he was playing before his injury, he was dominant, one of the best left tackles in the NFL, which is why the Packers gave him that 4-year, $92 million contract in November of 2020. So I just hope he'll be ready to go when training camp starts, and if not training camp, eventually will be starting once the season comes along and starts. And then the next guy we have here, another guy dealing with the same injury, Elton Jenkins. Elton Jenkins has been one of the better draft picks by the Packers in the past few years. Just his versatility on the offensive line. As you can see here at the bottom, 2019, his first season, 960 snaps at left guard as a rookie. Played very, very well. Allowed 0 sacks according to PFF. 2020, he showed his versatility. Comes in, plays almost 300 snaps at center. Played 32 snaps at right tackle. And then once again, he shows his versatility in 2021 before he got injured. Coming in, playing 495 snaps at left tackle. So there's no question. He can pretty much play every position on the offensive line. And I think that most people believe that when he does come back from his injury, which we don't exactly know when this is going to be, I've learned from David Bottiari to sort of expect the unexpected when it comes to ACL injuries. But when he does return, it's very likely I think he gets pushed out to right tackle. If David Bottiari is at left tackle, we could use Elton at right tackle, because we saw how good he was at left tackle last year with Bottiari being out and Elton Jenkins filling in for him. So with David Bottiari hopefully healthy at left tackle, Elton Jenkins at right tackle, that is a very, very good two tackles to have out there starting at tackle. And then if we move to the two players the Packers have lost this offseason, which has shifted things around for this offensive line. First off, Billy Turner signed with the Denver Broncos. Billy Turner, who last year, as you can see, played 810 snaps at right tackle. So we lose him. We don't have him over there at right tackle. And so the only reason I feel like I'm sort of worried about this offensive line is if Bottiari isn't able to return, which I feel like he should be. It seems like he should be, but I thought he would later in the season last year, and that didn't happen. So if he's not able to return, it just makes this, Packers line that much weaker. Luckily, we have used lots of our draft picks on those players, but it would have been nice to keep a guy like Billy Turner if Bottiari wasn't able to play, which I'm not saying he's not, but you never know. So Billy Turner left, and Lucas Patrick as well, who signed with the Bears. It seemed like lots of Packers players went and signed with opposing NFC North teams, which is interesting. But Lucas Patrick last year, with Josh Myers out, played a lot at center, 822 snaps at center, 57 snaps at left guard, 32 snaps at right guard. But Josh Myers seems like he should be good, and he's pretty much he's a solid player on this O-line coming into his second year at center, so he should be good there. And then we lost Lucas Patrick. But one player who could be very important this next season is Josh Neiman. We saw last year he came in, played some crucial snaps at left tackle for the Packers, 589 total snaps at left tackle for the Packers. So if for some reason David Bottiari is somehow not able to start the season off, which I expect him to, but who knows? If he's not, I think Josh Neiman could be put over there at left tackle. We saw him do it last year. Only allowed 3 sacks in 589 total snaps at left tackle. So he could go to left tackle. And if Bottiari does start the season, which I expect him to, I think he will, then I think Josh could be moved to right tackle and be secure over there at right tackle. And luckily the Packers came in this draft and used 3 of the draft picks on offensive linemen. Third rounder come in, select Sean Ryan from UCLA, who started at left tackle all 3 seasons at UCLA. So maybe he could be used at left tackle or right tackle if he needs to be in the future, because he did play left tackle in college. but it's possible that he competes at guard, rather with either John Runyan or Royce Newman as well over there at guard. Then we have 4th-round draft pick, another offensive lineman, Zach Tom from Wake Forest, who switched to left tackle as a junior in 2020 and then started all 15 games at left tackle in 2021 and only allowed 3 sacks. And then Rasheed Walker, who was also selected in the 7th round. So 3 total offensive linemen drafted by the Packers. So even though we did lose a couple players this offseason, as I stated, Billy Turner and Lucas Patrick, and we do have some question marks in Elton Jenkins' availability as well as David Bottiari's availability, at least the Packers do have some more ammunition after drafting lots of offensive linemen last year in the draft. They come in this year in the draft and once again draft players who have the ability to play at multiple positions, probably guard and maybe tackle in the future. So we do have lots of depth on the offensive line, which I think we've seen looking at last year, all the injuries we suffered on the offensive line. Gutekunst knows how important it is to have lots of offensive linemen who can play at multiple positions to come in there just in case there is an injury. And then one other player who has been getting some playing time at tackle during mandatory minicamp was Cole Van Lanen, 6th-round draft pick in 2021, who came from Wisconsin. So he also could be a potential player out at tackle if the Packers need to use him there. So now let's just imagine worst case scenario, David Bottiari doesn't start the season. Let's say worst case scenario, and then Elton Jenkins still probably wouldn't be starting at that point, most likely, unless he recovers very quickly. I think we already know center, probably Josh Myers. When it comes to guard, Sean Ryan and Zach Tom could compete with John Runyan as well as Royce Newman. But let's just say if we keep similar to last year, John Runyan left guard, Royce Newman right guard. And then if Bottiari's not there at left tackle, I said Josh Neiman, go there at left tackle. And then right tackle there would be a little interesting. Do the Packers put Cole Van Lanen out there? Do they decide to use one of the rookies, Zach Tom, Sean Ryan, at right tackle? I don't know if that would happen considering they played left tackle in college, not right tackle, so who knows there. So if Bottiari doesn't start, there are some more uncertainties, I think, with his offensive line. And that's the reason it is my biggest worry, one of my biggest worries, just because of all the uncertainty, all the injuries, lots of new players. I think eventually things will get hammered out. I think later in the season, Elton Jenkins and Bottiari should both be back in full capacity. And once both of those guys are back, I do think the Packers will have one of the best offensive lines in the NFL. So it could just be the beginning of the season when Elton Jenkins is likely out. Bottiari should be playing. He should be playing, but I'm just saying, worst case scenario, we thought he'd come back sooner last year. He didn't. So worst case scenario, the Packers at least still have lots of rookie talent, lots of depth, which I think should be able to manage things at least somewhat until those guys are able to return whenever that does happen. But thank you guys so much for watching. As always, drop a like on the video if you guys did enjoy it, and I'll see you next time.